Welcome back. Millions of Jews across the world are preparing to mark Holocaust Remembrance Day. Though it's one of the most documented atrocities in history, efforts to deny Nazi war crimes continue to this day. Holocaust deniers still traffic in anti-Semitic tropes, something we often see these days displayed openly on social media. Right-wing extremist violence in the U.S. has been rising for years, according to the Anti-Defamation League. The Charlottesville rally, which ultimately led to the killing of a counter-protester back in 2017, was just one example. The white nationalists, neo-Nazis, neo-Confederates, and other far-right groups chanting, quote, "Jews will not replace us," echoing a racist conspiracy theory. But if you go down the rabbit hole of extreme conspiracy and hate, can you ever climb back out? Our next guest says he did. For over 2 decades, he led the largest and most active neo-Nazi group in the United States, the National Socialist Movement. Today, he says he wants to help destroy it. Jeff Schoep joins us now. He's now the president and founder of Beyond Barriers. Thank you for joining us on Scripps Newsline. How did you become a neo-Nazi?
Thanks for having me, Lauren. It's an honor to be here. I got involved at a very young age. My grandfather had fought in the German army during World War II, and that was the trajectory in for me. I wasn't raised to hate. I wasn't taught racism growing up, but I was fascinated with that World War II family history, and I sought out the movement and got involved. And then I became an anti-Semite, was denying the Holocaust, and the rest of the story went from there. I was going across the country and speaking at these events and promoting hate, and it was a very regrettable thing.
And I understand that your family members told you that they didn't agree with you going down this path at all. It wasn't like there was this support of it. There was, in fact, resistance. Why continue down that path?
Right. They were very much against it. In fact, they tried everything they could to reach me and get me out of there. They told me that I was wrong. Even my grandfather that fought in the German army, he took me aside and said, this path that you're on is going to lead to one of two places. You're going to get killed or go to prison. And my response at that time, because I was so radicalized, was, you may have given up the fight, but I'll keep fighting until my last breath. And that's how radical I was. No one could reach me. No one could get through. And it wasn't until 2019 where I finally broke free from that life and walked away from it. And now I'm working to bring people out of that life and promote healing and unity and rehumanization across the country.
And he said you'd either be killed or face prison. You faced a federal lawsuit for allegedly conspiring to commit violence at the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, which is linked to 3 deaths, as I mentioned earlier. You attended that rally. You had tweeted saying, quote, "It was an honor to stand with you all in Seville this weekend." You called those who attended warriors, according to court filings, and you bring up 2019. That was the 2-year anniversary of the Unite the Right rally when you denounced your ties. How much of you leaving was the result of legal and financial, burden that you were facing at that time versus a moral decision?
Well, it was completely a moral decision because I can tell you, first of all, the case that I was involved in was a civil matter. It had nothing to do with anything criminal. So I think it's very important to clarify that and to make that clear. So I was being sued in that matter. I was not involved in any criminal cases or anything like that. So walking away from the movement actually was a huge financial burden for me because I gave up my business, which was wrapped up into the movement, and I walked away from everything. So I went from having financial stability, from having a comfortable life, to having absolutely nothing when I left. So it had really nothing to do with that case in particular. Of course, it was, no one wants to be sued, and it was certainly a stressful ordeal, and it was certainly something that I deeply regret ever having gone to Charlottesville. But it wasn't the catalyst for me leaving.
What was?
It was meeting people. It was basically meeting people that I had once dehumanized. It took time as well. It wasn't a snap of a finger. scenario. It wasn't something where you could say, typically when someone's going through a de-radicalization process, it's a time-consuming thing. And what it was for me was I had met a number of people. I met a man by the name of Daryl Davis, an African-American musician. Sat down with him, and he told me a story about how hate and racism affected him as a child and what took place, and how Daryl Davis is an African American, and when he was 11 years old in a Boy Scout parade, he was being pelted with rocks by white adults. That was the first seed for me. So when that was planted,
It just changed
you
things
start
for you.
questioning things.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight, but it takes time.
Jeff Schoep, president and founder of Beyond Barriers, thank you for your time, for sharing your story. We certainly appreciate it. And folks, we'll be right back.